Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt, man! All right! Episode 199 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Zach from Action Tees in Pennsylvania. Let's go!
Hey there, handsome.
Hey, boo-boo.
What's going on?
I see 2 sleeves printed over there. Did you do that?
I did not.
Thank
I
God.
actually just got this. I know. On a hoodie too. I just got this in from Creeperama, which our buddy Jeff Evergood made. It's the True Detective hoodie.
Oh.
Pretty stoked on it.
Can I see the sleeve?
Yeah, if you can see it.
Yeah, kind of.
It's from season 1, the only season, the good season.
Is there a back print too?
Yeah, there's a big back.
And then on the hood also?
There's no hood. Should be though. It should be both sides and top and back.
I'd send that shit back. Tell Jeff to get
Cover
get
the hood.
on. Yeah, come on. There's not enough.
Completely custom.
We had what was it? I think it was a 6 location order just come through on, I think it is hoodies. No, I think it is hoodies.
Gross.
But nothing's going on the hood. So I don't know how this adds up. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's something like down at the.
Is there tags?
I don't know. It's 6 locations. I don't know what's going on, but
that's too many locations. Too many times to be touched.
I say not enough, Dylan. Not enough. I think we should.
Fronts only. Black ink. It's the only thing we take.
Well, yeah. Hey, you look handsome, by the way.
Thanks, you too. I like your white tee. Surprised it's not a deep V.
I can make it that. You want me to just stand here like this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, deep?
Deep, yeah.
Yeah.
Like just above your belly button.
I'm going to bring those back. I'm going to start it. I'm going to start the trend. I was going to ask a question later about trends, but yeah, let's bring that one back. All right.
The super, deep V with the long hair that almost matches the V.
Oh, in the back, you mean it comes to a point?
No, just like your hair swoops so far in the front that like it comes down and almost touches your nipples.
Oh, yeah. Good look. Yeah. It's a good look.
It's a good look.
Everything comes back. It's like what's popular today will go out of trend and then be popular again.
Right.
One day. So save all of that stuff. Like don't throw it away. Just hoard everything.
Just be a hoarder. Save your piss bottles. And eat your couch cushions.
I don't think that's how that works, but sure.
It's not. I've been doing it all wrong.
Yeah. That's probably how it works in AC, though. AC standing for Atlantic City. So you and I were there. Let's see. We were there on Thursday night, Friday day.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Night. Yeah. You summed it up better, quicker, better. Got to it.
Yeah.
And I think it went better. So we had a seminar on what day?
Friday, 9 a.m.
Yeah, that's early, by the way. That's too early.
The Andy Rodman seminar.
Oh, you say that because they had me on
the only speaker was Andy Rodman.
That's right. And so that's probably why we didn't have quite the turnout as we did in Long Beach. You're a big draw. Let's put it that way.
If I wasn't on there, then they were just Andy alone. Fuck.
I'm like,
snooze fest. It was a good break from the show. I can come in here and take a nap.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is that I think we did better. Long Beach was our first seminar. And then, so this was our second here in Atlantic City, not here, and wherever Atlantic City is, New Jersey, I guess. It was our second go, and I think we did a lot better. We we found our groove. Is that what they say?
It's funny too, because like the reactions people said were really good. Joe said it was better. You said it was better, but during it, I felt so loose because I didn't really look at my notes. Like the first time I remember I had my laptop in front of me, I literally was like going through my notes, like, okay, this is what I want to talk about here. I don't want to miss this, whatever. This time I was just like, well, fuck it. Let's just have a conversation.
I know, like we got prepared, we made our notes, we practiced, and I had like I'm like, wow, there's like 80 people here. We have to be on. We have to give them some sort of value. They paid for this thing, and here we are. And I felt like I owed it to them, and so I was kind of nervous. Honestly, I'd never really done a seminar like that before, and so I think that's pretty normal though. Like that, it was our first time, and so now that we've done it, I wasn't as nervous at all. I just felt I knew kind of maybe what to expect or something, and I thought it went better when, just sort of like you said, when we weren't as scripted. We sort of reduced it down. We got rid of a couple slides and talked shop. And one of my favorite parts, by the way, which I learn every time I do one of these things, is that apparently a thing to do is to go to Tinder and then hire somebody off of a Tinder.
Like have a bad date and be like, you know what? We didn't work out romantically.
Right.
But do you want to work for me?
Yeah. So they break up romantically, but stay together. What would you call it? I guess
they didn't stay together. He had to hire an HR person to fire her.
Well, yeah, I was getting to that. Yeah. So then he didn't fire her like one-on-one or whatever.
Right.
He like had somebody come in to let her go. So yeah, Perfect. That's a new one. That's a new one.
That was amazing. It was good.
So that was a good story to hear and share. So I mean, yeah, you learn, if you can't find somebody on LinkedIn or Indeed, just
try Tinder. Right, exactly. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, AC was fun. In all honesty, I had a great time. Drove down. It was a beautiful sunny day, and then we hung out, went to the show, saw a lot of cool things. I think I'm gonna buy a folder bagger line. Checked out all that stuff, and I got the quote this morning actually, so I'm gonna pull the trigger on that, I think. And then, had some great dinners, hung out with Alex and the gang, and then gambled a lot, lost a lot, won a lot.
Can I just say something about gambling? Is that stupid? I threw down what I thought was some like high roller dough. I was like, here's like 35 bucks.
Yeah.
It was 35, Dylan. It was 35. And I pushed it towards the dealer and I was like, yeah, that's right. 35. Give me some chips. And apparently you really can't even bet unless you have 15 because of
it's a 15 minimum.
That's stupid. It's stupid. And so anyway, I lost $35.
You're just mad because you kept getting yelled at.
Well, there was different rules. Like they had a different dealer midway or whatever. And she was letting me just bet 5 on some of the stuff. And then he comes along and is like,
right.
It's not how it works, bro.
Yeah. He didn't fuck around.
No, he didn't.
It was good. Me, you, and Jeff, we were all throwing down on that table, and it was a good time. I lost
Jeff.
it all.
I love Jeff. How like some guy came up and he was like he won like one of the numbers like 36-1 or whatever. So we won a bunch of money, and then he was like super stoked. And then
it was definitely the dude's paycheck. Like it was his entire paycheck. He came in with it and he laid it down like cash wise, and it was such a weird random number. That they gave it to him. I don't remember what it was. It was something like, I don't know, like $637 or something he put down.
Well, then
she gave him the chips and he put it on.
He won a bunch. And then he was like, I say, hey, he needed to walk like right then. Because he said somehow he was a little down from earlier. And
he was talking to me. He was talking to me and he's like, yeah, I should just take my winnings and go. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, dude, that's a smart decision. And Jeff's like, no, you fucking put it all on red right now. And like,
yeah, he's like, that's not why we're here, bro. You didn't come here to get a haircut. Let's go.
Yeah. Right. Put it down. This dude's probably got to fucking go home and feed his kids. And
he lost it all back. I don't know.
No, he ended up playing again, won again, and then walked away.
Failed.
So
okay, yeah, smart.
Yeah, fist bumps all around. He was in it for sure. Yeah, and then the next day did the seminar. That was good. And then what did we do?
Don't leave out Super Freako.
That hasn't happened yet.
Oh, it happened. You may be forgot.
In the story, it hasn't happened yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so did the seminar and then walked around the show a little bit more and then got back to my hotel room, hung out, got a surprise visitor. Christina flew in from her cruise, which was fun. And then we all got to hang out and we went to dinner at Super Frico,
Mhm.
which ended up turning into the usual, where it was like fucking 12 people, which is still fun. And then I like well, you went to the other one, right? The one in Vegas.
I did not. You did. You seem to think everybody went with you to the one in Vegas.
Dude, you know what? We talk about this all the time, all these different trade shows and all these
Mhm.
different like things that we go to. I can't remember at all
Yeah,
which was where and who was there.
you would think that you were heavily intoxicated or something, but the fact is that
I'm
you
high
are
on
not.
life.
You're completely sober, and you still
Yeah.
can't remember who was with
You
you.
remember jack
But
shit.
I didn't. This was my first experience at Super Frico, and let me just say, if anybody goes to the one in Vegas or the one in Atlantic City, do not, and this is underlined in bold, do not
order
order
a bunch of food.
do not order the table mozzarella because it's a $90 waste of fucking money. Don't do it. Just go and buy a block of mozzarella at Aldi
it.
for like, it was $90. And the guy was like,
It's because he makes it in front of you.
he didn't make anything. He didn't make anything. They pretend you don't make mozzarella in 5 minutes.
He stretched it out.
He stretched it. That's pretty gross. Like that was disgusting. Did you try it? Did you have a piece?
Yeah, I had a piece about the size of a quarter.
Yeah. Well, it didn't cost a quarter.
No, that's
Should've.
$90.
Should you know?
I gotta say this one was so busy with entertainment and all these other things that going around that not a lot of people paid much attention to the dude making mozzarella. The time we went in Vegas, we were all eyes on this dude making mozzarella, and it was more immersive watching the guy. I feel like this time there was him, and then there was a magician putting a hanky in a jar. And
I thought you talked about the origami magician with the hanky, or as a napkin, I think it was.
Oh,
don't remember?
I don't want to bring that one up. That's too much for.
That's rated
R rated. That's NC 17.
More than R. That's more than R. More than NC 17. That's NC 18, no doubt.
Yeah.
Maybe 21. I'm glad she didn't talk to me about that.
I would have died. I would have melted. I think with Alex, it was just like, yeah, this is what happens.
Yeah. So look, I think that restaurants like that are gimmicky. I think that you go to a restaurant to eat, and a restaurant that leans on or relies on entertainment is less worried and concerned about the quality of their food. I will say this: it didn't suck. Like, it wasn't awful food or anything, but it was a little ridiculous. That's all.
I feel like your experience and my experience were different.
Well, it was overpriced. $90 for fucking cheese. That's overpriced. And then my chicken Parmesan I think had a lot of that leftover cheese. Like it was just cheese.
It was a
like,
lot of cheese.
So chicken Parmesan was like a mozzarella stick on top of a chicken finger. Then they put sauce around it. You know what I mean? So it was like thick ass cheese, whatever, mozz stick. You know what I'm talking about? Like the app.
I know what you're talking about.
On
I
top
love
of a
how
chicken
enraged
finger.
you are about this dinner.
Well, because it was. Anyway, we should move on. I don't want to complain too much. I want to be like, that's right. I'm supposed to be more like you. And
it was good hangs.
It was awesome.
The money was
so
well
awesome.
worth the hangs. I got to sit across from you.
No.
And all the other people. And yeah, the chicken parm was massive. It was like this big.
Yeah, they set it down, and you
and it was covered in cheese.
And
but the thing was,
what'd you say when you looked at me?
I was like, "There's no way in hell you're finishing that."
I know.
Exactly what I said.
I ate about half.
Yeah, and then you tried to pawn it off on me when we left.
I gave it to Ron.
I was full of apps before we even got food because I ate like 95 meatballs. I had that quarter-sized piece of mozzarella.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bunch of stuff. It was a good time though. I had fun.
Yeah.
The whole AC trip was good. Bill and Brian
Okay.
had a great
Well,
time. It was fun.
Here's the thing. Like I noticed the best parts or one of the best part of traveling is when you get home. I noticed that today. And maybe that's has something to do with Atlantic City. I don't know. But like my favorite part of traveling is when I walk in the door to my house. And don't get it twisted. Like I love new experiences and I love new places and hanging with friends, but there's something about just after you've been traveling or whatever, just getting home. And maybe part of it has to do with this is how my flight went from Philadelphia to St. Louis. Ready?
For the people listening, he's shaking the shit out of his camera.
Wow. Everything just changed.
Everything that day was like windy and rainy and shitty. I drove 4 hours in like heavy rain, like wipers on high.
Yes.
I probably passed like 30 accidents.
Yes. We drove from AC to Philly. I rode with Ron, Talk Shirty.
Yeah.
And it took twice as long because of that. And then when we took off, the pilot came on and said, "Hey guys, normally the flight attendants, they bring you a drink right about now, but I got to have them buckled up. And sorry, we can't do that." And
Right.
for their safety, that's how turbulent everything was going down because of all that weather, that system. And so I think like the last 5 minutes before we got to St. Louis, it got
Cleared up.
smooth. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. Those last five.
I hate flights like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, I get it. And it's just part of it and it's not their fault, but it's just hard to like settle in, you know what I'm saying? And relax.
Yeah.
So, that's that. Anyway, by the way, this right here, this episode today is episode 199, which means our next episode that errors on
The errors.
errors on
For us, errors, yes.
on April 8th. This comes out on April 1st, April Fool's Day, the one we're recording right now, which by the way, if people don't know, that is Frank's Graphic Screen Fashion. That's Frank's birthday. He was born on April Fool's Day. Probably that makes sense. It doesn't make sense.
Happy birthday to you.
Although we do this whole song.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday,
Dear Franklin.
Franklin. Okay.
Happy birthday
To
you.
So yeah, this one we're recording right now comes out on April 1st, and then our 200th. Just wanted to tease that a little bit. Will come out on April 8th, and we are having a special guest who was on our 3-year, and so we thought it appropriate to have him back because really we could have him back every year, all the time. Four is Mr. Dave Gardner. Mm-hmm. We are going to talk more shop with Dave, talk life. Also, I think there's a little beef. There's a little beef between maybe you and me and Dave with regards to the.
Everything's all
he said
good
I
on
gave
my
him
end.
stink eye. He said I gave him some stink eye.
You have beef. I don't have beef.
Well, we'll see. We're gonna squash whatever it is, though.
Me and Dave are best bros.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from you. I mean, that explains a lot.
We'll see. Anyway, we're excited to have him back on. Before we talk about our friends, I wanted to show you a couple things. One, our spring break's coming up, our camp, and I think that a lot of people sign up for our camp to learn, but once they get there, they realize the real value, and that is the swag. So check this out. This thing right here.
Mm-hmm.
We got more bracelets being ordered
Friendship
up,
bracelets.
but they're going to be different than our summer camp one. It's going to be spring breaky. Things like this.
Mm.
You know what this is? You want to say out loud so people are listening?
Is it a koozie?
It is. And then we have all kinds of other merch. We have stickers, tees,
We're going to do moleskins. We're going to do bags.
totes. Yep. Totes.
Just whatever. Just a bunch of fucking bullshit you'll probably throw away when you get home anyway.
I don't think so. It all starts with a screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF,
Rank.com.
or
Greatfuckingscreens.com.
yes, sir. Did we do a good job on that happy birthday? I want to make sure that it was.
I mean, I
it was
did.
perfect.
Yeah, I think it was flawless. Pitch perfect.
Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way. And they had a fantastic booth in Atlantic City, by the way. It was like the Easy Way Blue Water combination. It's just very nice. You know, it's a slick.
Did I tell you that if I hadn't, here's the story. I walked up to the booth and it was like at 5 at closing, and I hadn't seen Alex yet. And I like, oh, there he is. And I wasn't sure it was him. I thought it was him for sure. And he kind of ducked behind to turn off the lights of the Blue Water. And I walked right up to it and I was like,
smacked his ass.
No, I walked up and said, hey, I heard this thing's a piece of shit. And then this dude popped out from behind it, and it wasn't Alex. It was somebody I've never seen before from EasyWay. And I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, it's Alex around. And he didn't believe me that he goes, oh, you know Alex or something? So he thought I was like talking shit on his machine or whatever. And then I actually end up with whoever that was at Super Frico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
And then he believed you.
I guess. I think what it was Joanne patched things up for me because she was sitting next to him, and they were sharing pics of their vacations and stuff. Yeah. Okay, look, so GraphX is the source for production-ready digital art and remote art staffing. Go to graphicsource.com to learn more about what they offer and let them run your art department so you can focus on running your
self to Atlantic City.
I mean, okay.
It's where dreams come true.
Okay. Choosing the right emulsion for your shop is complicated, and that's why we love Chromaline. Go to chromaline.com to watch Kev's vids or contact him on Instagram at the Emulsion Guru and get the answers you
deserve.
Yeah. So for both of us, SNS has been our go-to shirt source since day one. Dude, they have 8 distribution centers, which allows them to ship to 41 states in one day. Get yourself an inside or outside rep or both at ssactivewear.com.
Good job.
You like that?
Mm-hmm. What do we got today, bud?
My guy, today we are talking shop with Zach Merrill from Action Tees in Pittsburgh, PA. I nailed it again with the timing. That's for sure.
Yeah. Dude, it's so colorful in your background. What is going on?
Yeah, I'm in my wife's vintage shop. She's got the best Wi-Fi, so I posted up in here.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what does she do? She just sell vintage stuff?
Yep, all kinds of stuff. Mostly clothes, but yeah.
So you guys are both into the vintage then?
Yeah. We're actually in like the same building. Her shop is like 2 doors down from mine, and then my studio is on the corner.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that you rented your own space. I thought that was more of like a garage situation.
It basically is a garage, but it is my own space. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Are you guys like me? And whenever you hear something like 2 doors down, you think of the band, even though it's not right. But when you said that, I instantly thought of a band.
You're thinking of 3 doors down. He's not 3 doors. He's 2 doors. He's not quite there.
But my brain worked like that. The moment you said that, I thought 3 doors down. Oh, cool. Or whatever.
Totally.
So, anyway.
I usually don't think all cool and 3 doors down in the same sentence, but I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. 3 doors down. Good stuff.
Would they be considered butt rock?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. Butt rock is definitely having a renaissance.
It is.
It's definitely coming back. Yeah. There's a whole like Creed tour and all that stuff happening.
Mind blowing.
Funny thing, my old brother-in-law he had like a mixed CD or whatever, and I saw it once and it had like writing on it. It just said good rock on the top of it. I was like, what the fuck is good rock? He's like, like it's like good rock.
It's like, okay, usually when you see something like that, it's kind of like, okay, this probably is not actually good rock, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, he's probably got some Three Doors on there for sure.
Don't you miss writing on CDs, like after you've made a mix or whatever, just writing stuff on there?
I
Like
would never write
titling or
on them
whatever?
because it was always a gamble of what you would get.
Ooh, I like that. Just embrace the chaos.
Yeah, you put it in and you're like, fuck, this is a good rock CD.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, what's going on with you, man? How's things?
Things are good, man. I just finished up some test prints for upcoming print run, and finally got some warm weather here in Pittsburgh. So just
Yeah,
kind of settling into a new season, which I'm really excited for.
How often are you releasing prints?
Oh, it's usually no more than like once a month. I'll do like a drop. And everything is like super limited and stuff. So yeah, the way I come at it is kind of different in the sense of like, if I'm not super feeling it, or, if I think like, okay, I don't want to just like put something out just so I can put something out, I won't. But I try to do something at least like once a month. I'll do a drop.
Right.
Is kind of my minimum.
How did you get into this whole thing? Because it seems like the way you're going about everything is just like a really cool way to do it.
Yeah. So, man, I've been screen printing for like at least over a decade, probably more, probably close to
really?
like 12 years or so. Yeah, I've been screen printing like a long time in various forms. So when I like first got into screen printing, high school, early college days, 2008, 2009-ish. I was in a couple of like DIY touring hardcore bands. I did that for like years. So it was like a big part of my life. And, on the road, like you got to find a way to like pay to get to shows. So it's like, okay, sell merch. And just with like the whole like DIY touring attitude, it was like, well, I'm just going to learn how to screen print. And so I kind of taught myself like really early on. And then that over the years kind of turned into like a business, and I printed for other bands and other people. And then I got burnt out doing that. And then I worked at
Did you do that as like you actually had a shop, or you had like a manual and all that stuff?
Yeah,
or?
I had my first like full like press was one of the old Ryonet silver presses, I think it was called.
So many people started with a silver press around that time. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's like iconic. It's really funny.
I really wish I still had ours. Like,
yeah,
I almost want to hit up the guy I sold it to and be like, "Do you still have this? I will buy it back just to like put it here and be like,
totally,
this is the press that we started with."
Totally, yeah. One of my print buddies down the street. Yeah, he is like a big auto and stuff now, but he has a silver press that he's like held on to, like just for that reason, it just like sits in the corner, but just like
the funny thing about the silver press too, and I don't know if this was just the one that I had, if it was too early on, but it was just straight up like cut aluminum stock. Yes. Like it wasn't like it was like formed and made for a press. It was just like a channeled arm that still had the black writing on it from being like a full piece of stock. Yeah, and it was just like put together with like nuts and bolts, and you were just like,
"Yep,
yeah, this is it."
Same, yeah, totally. It was a trip for sure. But I learned on that and did my thing with that for a bit, and then I worked at a contract shop for like it's probably like a year max. That was pretty brutal, not fun at all. I got
what were you doing there?
So I was running, it was like a 8-color, 8-station, like manual. And so I would do all, the baseball shirts, all like the, family reunion shirts, just like the bang it out fast, let's get it done, like stuff.
Smaller piece runs.
Yeah. It'd be like, I do, 500 shirts in like a day, something like that.
Right.
And yeah, so that was okay. But I learned a lot. It was just another kind of like season and kind of like my screen printing. And then I stepped away from printing for a few years, got back into it recently, kind of during the pandemic. I had just moved to Pittsburgh from Connecticut, still go back to Connecticut as often as I can. I had like the really cheap like Amazon Blue press that everyone knows about that press. And I was just kind of like, all right, I just want to print my way. It's kind of what I wanted to do when I first started, but just kind of got lost in the sauce with, the business aspect of it.
I do kind of want to chat about that real quick though, because I've mentioned on the show for a couple episodes now where I think I'm in the process of starting to like build a house, like build my house. And I kind of want to do like this 3-car garage thing, but have one of the bays of the garage be like my own print studio at home. Like I have the whole shop here, I have everything here, but I kind of want to like do poster printing, and I want to do, I don't know. I've been looking online for like letterpress stuff, and I'm just like,
oh, nice.
The funny thing is I just want to get back to these like older ways of doing things. It just as like a hobby to do at home. So I'm wondering with you, if you did all these other things and you printed shirts and you printed this contract shop and all this other stuff, if you knew going into this as a project, like I kind of want to do it in a fun, cool way and not in the basic, like I bought a press with a vacuum table and I'm just printing them. Like I could print these. You were more like, it'd be more fun and creative to do it this way.
Yep. That was exactly it. It was kind of like, okay, I've learned, all the processes. Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty solid on like, the fundamentals and all that stuff. Now I just kind of wanted to really like push it and see what I could get away with like a really simple setup. And I found like a lot of joy in that. And that kind of just grew organically. I took really like small, more like art specialty based jobs for people. I was able to get a studio space, which I'm in now. And that's where I've just kind of continued to push back to like the really traditional way of like doing things. Just kind of staying as much as I possibly can away from like the mass production, the really like hardcore like business side of things. Like I really try to operate more as, an artist than just like a big print shop.
Well,
and it's been that's cool and rewarding.
I think that's really like in symphony or harmony with what your wife does. She has a vintage shop. I mean, you both can kind of influence one another in that way, like you're sort of like vintage in the way you print, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And her style is very just like super bright, super bold, just like very like maximalism over the top. And like that was not my like vibe at all when I first started printing. It was like, okay, let me keep just things as
well, it was like a hardcore shirt, like white ink on a black shirt.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And so, like, the vintage crossover and her influence has been huge in my process for sure.
So for the people that don't know, you're not necessarily a print shop. You do more your own thing. Can you give like a 2-minute elevator pitch of what it is that you do now?
Sure. So the big thing that I'm doing right now, it's called Action Tees. It's basically retro inspired t-shirts, screen printed in super limited qualities, using traditional print methods, and oftentimes it'll be packaged like action figures. So it's kind of a crossover between my personal love and passions combined with, some of the more technical aspects of the screen printing world. It's just kind of like a marriage of those two things.
Yeah. And the things that drew me to you, and I started following you on my personal page just because I like cool screen printing shit. And it was just like, this guy is printing these on these oversized, what is it even? Is it wood? What are they? Those panels?
Yeah. It's so it's wood. It's like hardboard, typical like material that you can get, at most like hardware stores and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like a Lawan or something? It's just like a what, a
It's
quarter-inch thick piece of something?
yeah. Yep. So
Okay.
it's not even actual, it's like just compressed like wood. Like
Right,
it's
right.
actually called like hardboard. It's like, just like the brown material they'll use as like
Right.
backing for a lot of prints and whatever.
But you're printing the t-shirts like paper, basically. Like you're
Yep, exactly.
doing a color at a time.
Yep, that was the big inspiration for my process. Was just traditional like poster printing, and kind of like line table presses too. I always thought were really cool.
Right.
And yeah, so basically, I turn the T-shirt into flat stock, and I print them that way, on using jumbo and big giant like all over print screens on just like a flat table press with just your traditional 2-hinge clamps
Mhm.
and big monster squeegees.
Did you try other methods before you landed on that one? Like, what were the steps to get to where you are now?
Yeah, so I always had it was funny with the more like modern rotary presses and stuff. I always had the hardest time with multicolor registration for those. Like I don't know why, because I get so many questions and comments now with my process. Like, how do you do multicolor with what you're doing? Um, and so I think I just needed to figure out a way that worked best for me. And that's when I kind of got into like poster printing. And it just made sense. The pre-registration process, using like the bigger screens was something that I had always wanted to do. And so I think that's really what drove me is my frustration with the typical like carousel presses.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I really like lately? I've just noticed this. I mean, it's been around, but for whatever reason, I'm looking at it through a different lens now. And that is in St. Louis, we have a few different places that do these limited edition things. Like, for example, there's this bagel store and they make so many bagels, but then when they run out, they're done. It's not like, so like if you don't go there and get in line and get your bagels, then they're gone. They're gone. The same thing
Yeah.
with barbecue here. There's a few barbecue places like, hey, we have our barbecue and this is how many things we have. And then we run out of barbecue, we run out. We have the same thing with donuts here. Like there's a place that makes donuts, like a really, it's called Strange Donuts. You make donuts and when we run out, we run out. So I think with that, this limited edition concept or whatever, it's fun. Like there's like exclusivity. And it just creates like this buzz around something that's it's a limited edition. It's cool to get. It's cool to have. And I think that I don't know, I guess you can charge more even too for something like that, because it's special. There's only this many.
Yeah.
And which is like works in a lot of ways. It's like a win-win. I don't know. So
yeah, totally. It kind of ties in with the whole action T thing for me is just really about, excitement and kind of capturing that excitement that at least I felt, as a kid with action figures and comics and just, the over the top bright colors and the crazy commercials and all of that. And so to have it be a limited thing was, it was really important for me. And it's also important in terms of like business is where I have no desire to like mass produce things. Like it's just not something I'm interested in like at all. It's crazy. Like the amount of like DMs and emails being like, hey, reprint this, reprint that, I'll pay whatever. And it's like, dude, I'm really sorry, but like, I won't do it. Like I just won't. And I think it also, it adds value to, whatever it is that's being created too. It's like there's kind of like a respect there. It's like, oh, like this is, a really cool piece and there's only a limited amount of people that are ever going to have this no matter what. And I think that's also something that I, on the opposite end, spent a lot of time in terms of creating as many pieces as I could, working at a contract print shop. It was like, okay, how many can I do? How fast can I do it? How cheap can I do it? And that was something that I felt as though I had just kind of paid my dues in that world and wanted to do something different,
I think there's like this weird line with that kind of stuff though, too, is like you could do a really great job marketing, which I think you do a phenomenal job with like the extras and the packaging and all that other stuff. And I do want to get into that in a minute, but
Sure.
I feel like once it gets to a certain point, it kind of gets super taken advantage of. Like there's things like I'm a collector in a lot of things. Like I collect the biggest thing I was into for a long time, and I've kind of stepped back because I feel like I have more in tubes than I have hanging is screen printed posters. And
Totally.
like there was like 4 or 5 galleries I would constantly visit, and I would get stuff off Mondo and all these other things. But Mondo is an example, in my opinion, of something where it got too popular for being limited. And then there would be all these people that would just go on immediately, like wait in line, buy them, and then immediately put them on eBay. Like,
Mhm.
and it ruins it because the actual collector, the person who's interested in that piece, can't get it because these assholes go on and buy everything immediately and then triple the price on eBay. And then it
Totally.
just kind of ruins it for me. And I'm like, well, I don't even want to do this anymore. Like, I don't even want to
Yeah.
buy this piece because by itself, it was like $100. And then I go on eBay and because it's something I really, really love. And it's like this 20 color screen printed poster that I wanted. And it's
Sure.
like, well, now cool. Now it's $500 on eBay.
They do that with so many things now, like shoes even.
I know, but it
like, it's
ruins
just-
it,
Mhm.
is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like it get to the point where you're like, yeah, I want these to be limited fun pieces.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then people just super taking advantage of it. And it was the same thing, like way back, I was really into like Dixon for like the flannels. And that was their whole thing is it's like, hey, it's limited. You've only got this window to order them in and they're gone. And I have
Mhm.
so many of them. And then it got to the point where it was just like, again, like they were gone in like a minute. Like you'd go on to
Sure.
buy and it'd be like a minute later and they'd be like sold out of 2X. And you're
It was
just
like a
dude,
bot or something.
what the
that got-
fuck? Like they're
Yeah,
gone.
yeah,
Like,
totally.
this sucks. So
Yeah, that's definitely a good and different perspective for me, at least, to see it as, because I've been on like the receiving end of that. I've seen things kind of grow from be like, oh, okay, it's limited, it's whatever 48 hours only, or it's 28 pieces only, and to know that there are people that really genuinely want it and are like cool people and don't have an intention of reselling it to make profit, and they miss out on it. And yeah, that's definitely a tough position to be in for sure. And
but that's the thing is I love both sides. Like I love the fact that most of my
Sure.
prints are like 1 of 50. Like there's
Yeah.
only 50 people with this fucking print on their wall and I'm one of
So-
them.
yeah,
Here's what
Like
you
I
do.
love that.
I
Yeah.
think, you know how they do sometimes with pre-sale for concerts or for shows, like let's
Mhm.
say Nine Inch Nails or something, and you are a member, you know what I mean, of their,
You get it
Uh,
early access order.
yeah. So like maybe with this t-shirt thing, if you're some sort of, you already are a member.
Like
of
if you're like
their-
a Patreon or something, you
something like
get
that.
you get to order 10 minutes before everybody else.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
an option. I have like a mailing list. I'll be like, hey, it's gonna be up. It's live a few minutes early, but yeah, it's definitely a balance game when it comes to stuff like that for sure.
You know what else sucks though too, and I'm dealing with this right now because my daughter, but like Taylor Swift and like Olivia Rodrigo tickets, like the same
Yeah.
thing. Like I've been trying for probably 2 months, month and a half to buy tickets to Olivia Rodrigo for my daughter, and it's the same thing. Like I have to go to Vivid Seats or like StubHub, and the tickets are like $2,000 a piece,
Dang,
and
that's
it's like,
wild.
but that's what I'm saying is people are buying them just to sell them.
Resellers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they go on sale instantly and then they know these parents are going to pay whatever they're going to pay because they want to make sure their sweet little baby angel gets to go see fucking Olivia Rodrigo
Well,
and pay
Dylan,
$3,000 a ticket.
Here's what you do. They do this at Taylor Swift too, is you just go and you sit outside the auditorium. You can still hear it. You just,
Right.
hey, you're like, hey, sorry.
Watch it on the screen outside, like in the
Yeah.
security room.
There you
And
go.
then, buy her a shirt or something. And,
Yeah.
maybe it'll be
Or
almost
like Taylor,
this-
you buy it on fucking Amazon or whatever, and you watch it at home with a viewing and make popcorn and call it good. But anyway, back to your story. We're talking about fucking Taylor Swift at this point. It's off the rails. With your thing, it's not just like it's really cool that you do the way you do the printing and all that stuff. but you spend a lot of time and energy into the packaging. Like that's
Sure.
a huge upsell too. Like what was the thought? You said it was kind of because of like action figures, but I know from your stories you were making a thing like the packaging where you wanted to make the back of it the like cardboard collectible. But weren't you having trouble where like the packaging was ripping off the cardboard and you ended up finding an adhesive that you could take it off and it was clean?
Yeah. So packaging in general is, I've just always been into it. Definitely related back to, the action figures, the toy aisle as a kid, just design in general, I'm really into. And so again, I just wanted to combine what I'm doing with t-shirts with the packaging. And yeah, a lot of it was trial and error for sure. Like at first, it was kind of like, okay, I need to figure out a size because I don't want to make it, ridiculously huge. Like it's kind of cool, but also just like not practical. And so I really narrowed down like the size of it. And then I wanted to make sure that it was thick enough. And that was an issue that I was having in order to get things, mass produced to the standard at the thickness of, the cardboard that a lot of like action figures and toys are used. You're talking like thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces, which is something I didn't want to do. So that involved more research, which got me kind of locked into getting a duplex machine, which is a really cool little like specialized piece of equipment, which basically adheres an even coating of glue to whatever substrate, paper, cardboard, and then kind of compresses them together.
So you're making these yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were ordering them.
So the actual prints I get from a local place, and they do it on like, I think it's like 130 pound, like gloss card stock. But then there's 3 pieces. So there's the front print, the back print, and then there's actually a middle piece of chipboard. I forgot the exact weight. And all 3 of those pieces I duplex together to make one single card back. Otherwise, it wouldn't be thick enough for what I wanted. It wouldn't be the quality that I wanted. And so that was another issue. And then it came to what you were just talking about, the adhesive. I was using like this low tack tape on for a while without any issues. And then I had a couple of people hit me up. They're like, hey, I got like a really small, it would be like half the size of a penny or something, a little tear. But for me, that wasn't good enough. I want to have like the best, especially when people want to collect these things. I don't want people to have to worry about any damage. So I kind of went back to the drawing board with adhesive, and now basically I'm using it's called like gummy adhesive or like booger glue. Like when you get a new credit card
and then you pull it and you stick.
Yeah. It's that. And that's super satisfying. And I've had no issues with it. So yeah, that's kind of like technically the evolution of the packaging making process, at least. Yeah.
But what's funny is that people don't realize, I mean, I guess your fans of this realize is like how much fucking work you're putting into each piece. Like with us in printing
hours.
Yeah, but I'm saying we could like you're saying, trying to stay between where you are. Actually, I wrote this down because you said this in the thing and I was like, man, I want to say this. Like you want to live in between artistry and industry. And that's that. Like you're fucking making art, but you're trying to sell it as well. So like each piece has this like dedicated time into just making the cardboard backing that your shirt sticks to. Which is crazy. I mean, in a good way.
Yeah, it is crazy, but I'm having a blast, and it means a lot that you recognize that, and that someone else also kind of sees that existence between like the artistry and industry. It means a lot for sure to hear that.
Isn't that a really tough place to live? Because I know Joanne's struggling with that right now. So she's, she loves being an artist. She loves painting and drawing. But when it comes to monetizing it, and making money from it, because, you want to be all in and you want to be able to pay bills and things like that, then it's not as fun. Like it zaps some fun out of it. It's sort of like being a really great musician being in a band and having fun playing gigs and whatever. But now all of a sudden it's a business. It's a music business, and you have to pay for expenses and, traveling and all this kind of stuff. And that's bands break up because of that shit, because of the business
Yeah.
part of it. And so like you have to live in between that. And so she has found a couple of things she has this show that's later this fall, and she's found a couple of ideas that, she can do 50 paintings for. But in her head, she's like, well, these have to sell though. Like I ultimately also want them to sell, to pay
Sure.
for all the time that I'm putting into this. And so do you care to do you plan, are you strategic in that you're like, okay, well, I'm going to do this knowing that somebody or hoping that somebody buys it, or I'm going to do it just because I want to do it. Like I want to create this thing for me. And if somebody buys it, fine, or whatever, or great, or whatever. Maybe not. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's hard.
Totally. It's, I try to come at everything, everything needs to have like a balance. And what I have found is I get way more stressed out. It affects my creative process and my, industrial process negatively a lot more if I'm trying to make things with the sole intention of making money off of them. For me, it doesn't work at all. And so I won't put anything out unless I'm excited about it, unless I connect to it, or I'm inspired by it. And on the business side, the balance that I try to find with that is, okay, I need to at least try to do one drop a month. And so if I know that, okay, 100 people have asked me to do, a Spider-Man shirt, but I personally am not feeling inspired to do that. I don't want to do that, but I know, it's going to sell. That doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to do it because I'm not doing it for the sole intention of making money. And that's what it would be. The work wouldn't be good. I wouldn't connect with it. I wouldn't be excited about it. I wouldn't have the energy to do the project. And so that for me has really kind of been since the beginning, when the first drop I did for Action Tees, it was like I had hit a point where I was like just done creatively. I just wanted to do something for myself, something cool. There was no intention. I wasn't even going to post it. It was just like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And so I've really kind of like hardlined, put that boundary for myself with, if I'm not inspired by it, if I'm not excited by it, I'm not going to do it. And I think that can connect to eventually when it comes to if you decide to put it out and decide to sell it. Because if you've been drained, your energy's been drained creatively or technically in order to make this, just to put it out to make money, I think that really comes through in the artwork or the creative piece.
Oh, for sure.
As opposed to something where you're excited about it. Sure, you'd like to make money off of it, but that's not why you did it. I think it carries a different energy. And when you talk about it, I think that really comes through. And art in general, it's a different process for everyone, but that's kind of how I come at it is I have to be stoked and inspired by something or I can't be bothered with it.
And I think that's what a lot of artists don't necessarily realize is like, and I buy a lot of like one of my favorite things, and the people close to me know this, is like when I want something for like my birthday or whatever, like I would almost rather have something like handmade or custom that's like there's only 6 of these or there's only whatever, like go online and buy me something random. Like I don't necessarily want a mass produced like Amazon item. And I think that's the thing too, is like when I was doing poster printing, buying all the time, is like I only wanted a screen printed poster. Like I didn't want to print because the print feels like nobody touched it. Nobody put the time into it. Nobody, whatever. They went to fucking Kinko's and got 30 copies and they're selling them for $60 a piece. And I think the thing is like, you need to realize is like the people who are buying more than one of your shirts aren't buying the shirt just because it looks cool. They're buying it because you made it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like they're connected with you. Like same with like Joanne and her paintings. Like I'm connected. Mm-hmm. Like if I just saw a random painting like Joanne's in the street, I'd be like, oh, that's really cool. Like the artist, like they did a good job. But like I want to buy one or more of them because I want to support and Joanne.
Yeah.
Like I love what she's doing. I like what she's making. So I think that's the thing is there's all these artists say like you and some company comes along like Hot Topic or Zoomies or something. And they're like, we want to carry your shirt. It would look really good at Zoomies. And then it's like, all of a sudden you're not printing them anymore. And me and Andy know from our world, like some company is printing that for the bottom of the barrel, cheapest price that they bid for. And it's going out and it's just they're soulless at that point. They're not that it's not still a cool shirt and you're not supporting that artist in some way, but it's you didn't fucking put hours into it. And like it's not out of registration and it's not like you weren't fucking sweating in your studio, a drip of sweat fell on the print. You know what I mean? Like that's not happening.
Water-based.
Like I want that to happen. Like that's what makes it for me. Like that's what makes it worth the money.
I saw this thing. I don't know if it's real, so fact check me. I don't know. This could be wrong, but there's this girl, and she's some artist, a creative. Her name is Sierra Mist, and so she had this like Instagram and all this thing .com Sierra Mist or whatever.
Wasn't she like an OnlyFans lady, and she sued Sierra Mist, and now it's fucking Starry?
Sierra Mist sued her and gave her a cease and desist and said, "Hey, you can't use Sierra Mist," and she went online and it happened to be that Sierra Mist trademark expired. She bought it and then Sierra Mist contacted her and said, "Hey, we want to buy that back." And she said, "No, like it's mine." And then they offered her like $10 million or something. And she still said no.
Yeah.
She's like, "Fuck
That's
you guys."
The best thing ever.
That's so dope. I love that.
So they changed it to,
it's like a giant fuck you.
They changed it to, what is it? Starry?
It's Starry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. I love that. Love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
why comic books? Was that just because that's what you were into, or because this is like a 2-part question that kind of like, I'm not saying you did this necessarily. Why are fucking balloons happening? I'm not saying this.
That was for Frank's birthday, right? There.
Yeah. For
Happy
Frank's birthday, just randomly. I feel like the art 100% lends to the craft and the way you're printing, but it's also a really cool medium for you to do. So it's kind of like a win-win for you of like, I fucking love comic books. I love the art. I love how bright and poppy and I could make it huge, but also the way they print comic books where not that registration doesn't matter, but it kind of looks cooler when it doesn't, you know what I mean? It kind of lends to the whole thing. So was that planned or was that just like, fuck yeah, this works out?
At first it was not planned at all. No. I mean, I've always been into comic books. I've always been into, art and stuff. My dad was like an art teacher and an artist. My mom was like a graphic designer. So I've always been kind of like just in like the art world in general. And so I got really into design at a young age, and comic books just kind of, I was just drawn to that naturally, just with, how contrasty they were, just the line work, the stories. I just really kind of like fell into it. And so from just like a design perspective, I thought, this could translate really well to screen print and design. And the more that I dug into it and learned about the history, and the artists and, the 4-color process and all that stuff, I was like, hey, there's a lot of connections with like screen printing. Yeah. And I just kind of like dug into that more and more and found the connections in terms with, registration, in terms with, the spot color versus 4-color, in terms with how a lot of, the reels were made, that the colors were printed on the old newspaper, how much, even the quality of paper stock mattered. I would look up old different dye mixing swatches that these printing companies, in the 50s, 60s, 70s would use to print comics, and just connected the dots as much as I could with my printing process. And that goes back to, my more traditional way of printing as well. There's just like a lot of connection there. And all the puzzle pieces just kind of like fit organically as I learned more. So I just really kind of like push that as much as I could, and that even goes in line with the way that I do a lot of the design work. All my color separations, I draw digitally. Sometimes I'll do actual like hand cut stencils. And it gives you that look, and it gives you that feel and that vibe that I really enjoyed in comic books as a kid, you know.
And I just think that the art lends itself to what all of us screen printers with OCD or whatever
Sure.
love, is when you just do a bunch of blocky like colors and then black caps it off, and it's like,
Oh, it's
then
so
it's
good.
like, it's so visual of like,
Yep.
fuck,
Yep.
that looks so good when the black is on top.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's so satisfying every time. It's just like, oh,
that's what I'm saying.
okay,
For you,
okay.
it's just like it's like the chef's kiss of the first one, and the black just looks
Yeah.
so good on top. Yeah.
Especially with like you know, like a 40-inch screen or something with like a 26-inch wide print, you know, and you peel that black up, it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool, we're good.
But as I said, like the opacities of the inks, and especially because you're using the water base, and also like the comic book look of maybe on paper it didn't have like full opacity. You know what I mean? Because they're doing a bunch of like paper runs, that it just the whole thing lends to exactly the look that you're trying to achieve, I feel like.
Yeah, it definitely works out really well, and it's cool. Like, I'm continually kind of learning new things about the way comic books are printed, and, you know, old print techniques, and, you know, messing with different inks, you know, HSA water based versus, you know, just really light water based inks, and how they kind of blend together, and color overlays, and yeah, very, very similar to traditional comic book printing versus digital. It's a really cool thing for sure.
That's awesome.
Okay, so had a thought. So can you boys share something that is trending in our industry right now that is not DTF?
Something that we actually like.
Yeah, so it can't be direct to film. It has to be, because obviously that's trending and everybody knows that. Can you think of anything that's trending?
Well, I can say that I think the style that I like, and I used to design a lot. Like back when I worked in Georgia, half of my life was designing t-shirts for bands. I haven't designed a t-shirt in so long. Like, it's not part of my world anymore, but my style was always vintage with like a distress pattern. Like, that was always my go-to look with everything. And I still see, like, without a doubt, no matter what's happening in a store, like I was at Target yesterday and there's a whole like Levi's section or whatever, which is just like mountainscapes and whatever. And it's like always like two colors, and it's distressed and vintage looking. And it's always my favorite. Like,
Nice.
it will never die. Like, I love that. If I had to design again, I would do it the same way. I think that is never going to go away, even with DTF, because it's one of the more simplistic ways to print, but it just looks and feels so good. So
it's got that like almost that heritage kind of quality to it, you know? Yeah, it's really cool. I like that vibe too, for sure. I'm pretty out of the loop with modern screen printing stuff. What I have seen that's kind of cool is what is it? It's like digital squeegee printing, where they'll print you know, whatever, white underbase or something, and then they'll come over and and do like the digital print over that. That's pretty fascinating. I don't know the technicalities, you know, the washability of the print, or how well it stands up, or the inks used, or anything like that. But I think that's cool, and I think that there's a lot of potential cool like possibilities there. I think it's neat.
Coming from a guy who's like completely reversed engineered everything to be old school, you know, like probably your screens are probably made out of silk, actual silk.
No, I'm not quite that extreme, but that is a great idea.
The truth of it is that stuff is really cool. Like, if you're just a print nerd and you're not a dickhead, like, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, screen print purist, I'm only ever going to do it this way and whatever. Like, I get it. Like, I love that too. Nobody is saying that stuff isn't cool. We're saying that, hey, this new fucking tool came out and it's super cool. Like, it can do what we've had to do the hard way for forever. It's like, oh, I love the fact that I can do a 14 color print and when it looks good, it looks good. But I also hate when I did a 14 color print and it came out like shit and didn't look the way I wanted it to.
Yeah.
Where when I'm out there sweating and pissed off and we're all trying to figure out this reason why it doesn't look good, I could buy a machine that I can make in 4 screens and do a full color anything. And it's the same from shirt 1 to shirt 486.
Mhm.
Like, that's where I'm like, man, this is really cool.
There's a place for that. It certainly is not for everyone. And I certainly understand, some people aren't going to be into it, but I just try to look at things just kind of from like an outside perspective.
Yeah.
It's like if someone told me, 10 years ago that like, hey, there's going to be a machine that like you can screen print a white underbase and then this thing's going to zip over and do, 12 colors in 30 seconds, I'd be like, that's fucking wild, dude. Like, that's crazy.
Exactly. I love it. I love all the forms. I love everything. It's just the only thing I don't care about is rhinestones. Those can stay gone.
Oh man, I haven't thought about rhinestones on clothing in so long, but that's a vibe for sure.
I saw a post, I think it was this morning actually, where it was someone printed like high density and they made it so thick that they did like a foil on top and peeled the foil off and it looked like rhinestones. And I was just like, please, for the love of God, don't make that popular. I do not want customers calling in for this.
Oh man, yeah. That's a whole other level. Like, cool to see and look at, but I wouldn't want to be responsible for doing that.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, we have this section of the show where I don't know if you heard of this because you said you're kind of out of the loop, but a buddy of ours made this program called screenprintgpt.com. So basically you can go to it, it's an AI thing, but it's only for screen printing. So you ask it a question, like if you had an issue with Waterbase or something and you're like, fuck, I can't figure this out. I don't know how to troubleshoot it. You can pop the question in here and it's going to scrub the internet and a bunch of data that's already been put into it specifically for your answer. So you don't have to, but do you happen to have a question that you're like, I wish I knew how to figure this out right now with screen printing? If you don't, we have one ready, but I always like to ask just in case you have a question.
Oh my gosh. For number 1, look at the bottom left corner. This is totally not planned. It says design a vintage t-shirt. Like as a suggested question. Was it listening to us, Dylan? Does it already know? Like what the fuck's going on here?
Always listening. Shoot over your question.
Okay. What was our question today, Andy? We could do the best way to design a vintage t-shirt. I mean, that fucking plays for today.
It does. I think that what that's asking is to actually design one. So it's going to look for,
I
think it'll give us
that.
a design.
I want to ask it a question.
You want to ask how to design it?
So anyway, just so you know, like Zach, this is a free thing you can do. Like you can sign up, just go to screenprintgpt.com and just ask it print questions. So it's not like a paid service you have to be a member of or anything like that.
Yeah. Very cool.
Well, the question I have queued up is how can I make my Plastisol ink feel like water-based ink? Would you like to
try
that?
it? Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
It plays into all of our worlds. It usually does like 8 or 9 things.
Nice.
Okay, so it did 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So 1, use softhand additives. Softhand additives can be mixed into Plastisol ink to reduce its stiffness. We don't want that. And make the print feel softer and curing. The thing with softhand, we love it. We use it all the time, but it does affect opacity. So keep that in mind. 2, select the right mesh count, which is obviously important. Me and Andy have a whole camp based on that when using thin thread and all that kind of stuff. Are you using thin thread at all?
To be honest, I'm not sure.
Okay. You probably are just using a standard mesh. Where are you ordering your screens from?
It's like the SAATI mesh, Sadie mesh.
Saudi mesh. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you can get that in standard or thin. I think in your case, I mean, I don't think it's really going to matter either way, but you might want to look into it. Test it.
The name for Saudis is Hydro, so it would be called a Hydro mesh. Saudi
cool.
Hydro.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's what we're
I get screens I get from a local place, tech support. Sometimes I get them from this place, Gold Up USA. And then the bigger size screens I get from Victory Screen Factory in Queens.
We'll
And
send
they do
you.
all,
We'll
like,
send you
the-
a link of a place to get all of your screens from.
Dope.
Okay, so the next one was thin the ink. Number 4 is print with less pressure. What was the question again?
How to get your plastisol print to feel like a water-based print, or
Okay.
feel more like, closer to a water-based.
Yeah, I don't know if the print with less pressure thing. By adjusting the
yeah.
squeegee pressure to the minimum required to clear the screen, you can achieve a thinner. That is true. I don't know if we want to go into this too much, but I was always told that it's kind of like the idea of printing. Like if you force your plastisol into the t-shirt instead of laying on top of the t-shirt, it's kind of like concrete and rebar. So like
Sure.
you can actually achieve a softer print if you keep it on top of the fabric instead of curing it within the fabric, because then it's going to stiffen up the whole material of the t-shirt instead of just floating on top. So
And-
that
That makes sense.
might be what that means.
And also use more ink, so it'll be denser, because you're filling up the fabric and also a little bit on
Right.
top. And so if you have just putting it on top, then there's less weight, less ink being used.
Right. Number 5, choose the right squeegee. A softer squeegee blade around the 60 to 70 durometer can help achieve a lighter ink deposit. That is true. Use a base layer. For dark garments, printing a layer. I don't understand why that has to do anything with making it feel like water-based, but number 7, cure properly. And number 8, consider water-based. I love how 1 through 7 is like, this is how you can make it. And number 8's like, just fuck it. Just use water-based or discharge
Just
ink.
use water-based. Those are
Someone like
solid,
Eric
though.
is gonna get a kick out of number 8, where it's just like, you know what? Don't try any of those things. Just go ahead and use water-based instead.
Those are solid. Can I ask it a question quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought of one. I think I have this pretty locked down in my own process, but I get a lot of questions about it. Screen printing over seams. I'm curious what it has to say about that.
Didn't we just do that like an episode?
Maybe you
or two
did.
ago?
If you did, don't worry about it.
No, hold on.
That was over a pocket, I think.
Mm.
Hold down a
Which is
pocket.
basically the same. Oh,
Same thing.
type it in real quick and just say best tips for printing over seams and see what it says. Is there something you're doing now that you're like, I don't know if there's a better way to go about this?
No, not necessarily.
Because I think the fact that
basically-
you're already using water-based is kind of helping you in that situation, because it can kind of
Yeah.
fall in a little bit easier.
Yeah, water base is a big difference. Right mesh count is a big difference. Off contact, I found a slight difference in the squeegee durometer blade. I've actually found like a slightly harder squeegee blade. I can get kind of like a crisper, just like lays in a slightly less ink, keeps edge definition. Yeah.
So I can read some of these
Okay, cool.
real quick, and it's from what I saw.
It's basically what
was-
you just said.
but it's missing the most important technique, I think. Anyway, number 1 is use an off contact distance. So maybe adjust your off contact. Number 2 is select the proper squeegee. Number 3 is adjust the squeegee angle and pressure. Of course, you do all these things no matter what. Use a palette with a seam gap. We've had limited success with that because a lot of
Sure.
times it's still, what would it do? It sort of smashes out a bit still. And then your next print carries over a little bit of that ghost image.
There's,
Consider, go ahead.
I've seen some old school guys use like yoga mat material,
Yeah.
kind of like
Okay.
gives
Neoprene.
That is
just
what,
enough give to allow whatever the seam to kind of compress into it, but not
'Cause that's the
enough
thing
to where
too,
it
is that
distorts.
you're printing on those hard panels. There's no give.
Sure. Yeah.
So like on our presses, we have like a rubber, but it doesn't give much. It's a hard rubber, but we do have a technique where if you are doing like over the zipper, over the seam, we can put a neoprene down first on the pallet and then print over that, because when you're pushing, the squeegee is pushing into it, it's also pushing that seam down into the rubber, and then you're getting that flat surface again.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of the same thing with like heat pressing. You can put that pillow in there so it drops all the stuff down, so you don't end up with like weird pressure marks on certain areas.
Totally.
I don't know how you could get away with that with the style of printing you're doing unless you added like rubber material to your entire board.
Yeah, it'd be a lot.
I think I would say for what you're trying to do, I would just say fuck it, and it comes out the way it comes out.
Yeah,
And be like,
it's
yeah,
been,
every piece is slightly different.
yeah, it's been pretty solid so far.
Yeah, your prints are pretty massive though, so you could always just design around those though too. You know what I mean? Like you could make, like if you were doing a like an action figure guy's head or character's head or whatever, obviously it's going to round when it gets close to those seams anyway. So if it was, the problem is we had this all the time. We used to do a ton of comic book stuff. We still do, but a lot of them always want to do the cover, and it's always a giant rectangle. Well, that fucking sucks. I hate printing rectangles because one, if your pallets are too tacky and you go to pull it off, you're gonna like warp that perfect straight edge, and also to the points of that rectangle, because they always want it massive, are right next to the seams, and then you have issues with that, or they're like, oh, we want it to be 20 inches wide, and then they put it on a youth large t-shirt, and then it's over the seams. It's just a huge pain. So designing for that, I think, is huge. So my number one tip would be design for it, and number two is maybe to try the rubber, and three is off contact, because you want that screen to snap back up instead of just mushing. And then, the other stuff you said, like squeegee blade and all that kind of stuff, is super important too.
Heck yeah, those are solid tips for sure.
But anyway, you could go to screenprintgpt.com, put in your question. It'll give you 9 times out of 10, it's going to give you a lot of really good things to try and a lot of really good advice, but it could just spark idea in your brain and be like, I want to try a couple things. So
yeah, that's awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And
heck yeah,
it's free. Next.
That's cool too. I like free.
Yeah. Next, we have overrated, underrated. So I have 3 things today. You just let me know if you think they're overrated, underrated, or properly rated. The first thing, number 1, is casinos.
Ooh, casinos. I'm going to have to say, let's go with overrated. Yeah.
My man.
I'm going to say overrated. I mean, casinos are cool. They can be a lot of fun, just max stimulation, but can only take so much. And I think some people just take it a little too seriously sometimes.
Oh,
so
for sure. Yeah.
That
I knew what your answer already was going to be, Andy, when you asked this fucking question. Like you knew what you were going to say and do. I'm going to say that casinos suck when it's depressing and you see somebody at like 1, 2 in the morning when you're walking through the casino to go to your hotel, and then you see them again at 8 a.m. in the same fucking spot when you get up in the morning to go to breakfast. That's rough. Or when you see people spending their paycheck or their social security check or whatever it is, like on gambling, that sucks. But when you're just out having fun with friends and you fucking put cash in your pocket and you're like, I don't care if I win, I don't care if I lose, if I walk out of here and that money I brought in here is gone, fuck it. It rules and it's fun. And you can just fuck around with your friends and you can fist bump and say, I won, I lost, whatever. It is what it is. You're still having a good time. That's when it's cool.
Yeah. I think almost under any circumstance, it's overrated and it sucks. Because, you know, it's sort of like Zach said, it is, I can't take it. Like modern day, I think it was cool. Some of it's lost its luster. Like you used to go into a slot machine and pull down this lever, and then if you won, coins would spill out onto the ground or whatever. And you're like, fuck yeah, you have a bucket of coins or something. Now it's just like digital bullshit that is on a card or whatever. And maybe,
you're playing the wrong game.
No, I don't play that. First of all, I don't play that because I'd rather just go play a video game or something that like is, I don't know, I'd go to Dave and Buster's or something and it's like better. Not that I even like David Buster's, but anyway, it has like overstimulation and it has like butt rock 24/7 cranked, and I don't mean to rip on butt rock, but it just has music that's like so annoying. The carpet gives you like stress. the smoke. I guess it's legal to smoke and do drugs inside of these places. And there's people that are
You're just describing
like-
fun
just
and then
like you
putting a
said.
negative connotation on it.
just like you said, we walked through it to go do our seminar. Like Joe and I walked through at 8 a.m, and there's people with despair. You can smell it in the air. It's just,
That's diarrhea.
it's sad.
it's
And
everything.
you can't win. Like it's stacked against you. You stay there too long enough, you're losing. It's just a losing. It's not like it's 50-50 or whatever. No, you're going to lose. Like stay there long enough, you'll lose. I hate them. Number 2, saying no.
Ooh, saying no, I would say is highly underrated. I think learning to say no is a skill, and it's something that I think a lot of
Definitely
people have to learn. I certainly had to learn how to do it, especially coming from, a contract shop, or just, trying to make as much money as I could in my own screen printing business, starting out. Just like taking, any job, it was like, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. Yes. It's just like, oh my God. And I really had to learn how to say no. And in learning how to say no, I was able to set boundaries for myself, both mentally and physically. And it just improves every aspect of life when you can really learn to say no. So thumbs up for saying
I like it.
Enough said. I agree. Done.
Well, I have a little saying real quick that I heard, which inspired this question. And that is, it goes like this. Saying no is saying no to one thing. Saying yes is saying no to a lot of things. And so like the minute you say yes to doing something, you've just said no to all these other opportunities. And so sometimes saying no is a problem. And so, yeah, I'm agreeing with, I think, both of you, and that it is underrated. Sometimes very hard to say though, but it's underrated. I had to put this down, and I put it down as we were going through our episode. Number 3, butt rock.
Oh man. See,
Underrated.
I would have said that not that long ago, but I feel like now it's like butt rock is like the new, like, it's almost like the new meme, it's like, it's everywhere. Which I'm cool with. I'm fine with it. Like I can throw on butt rock and get the vibe. But if I had to decide at this point, underrated or overrated, oh man, that's difficult.
You can do properly.
Properly rated. It's right in the middle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to go with properly rated for my past high school self. And, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Dude, the thing is, I love it. I'm just going to say I love it. Like, I love it, and I a little bit loathe it because it's my childhood. It's like you said, like your high school self. Like, growing up in the household I grew up with, and like my parents and my brother especially, like they fucking love it. And like I grew up with it. I hear it all the time. Like it's one of those things, living in a small town. It's like everybody and their brothers like, hell yeah, like this band's playing. It's like, dude, I can't help but smile or like it. So I'm going to go with underrated just because, and I'm not trying to bash anybody. I'm not trying to bash Andy's casino thing, but I think at this point in my life, I'm just like, who gives a fuck? Like, just have fun. Like, it 3 doors down might come on. You know what you should do? You should fucking turn the windows down and turn the music up and just like fucking sing your heart out. Cause what else you got to do? Like, who gives a shit? Like, if you like it, you like it. So I think that's why like Nickelback is having like a huge comeback, because they got this whole campaign now of like people just being like, oh, I love Nick. Like, it's like someone walks by and you're like, oh, fuck, this is gross. And as soon as that person turns the corner, you're like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like that's what it is.
Great. It's
like,
good.
quit thinking about what other people are going to think of you and just do it.
And also, does it work like this? If something is uncool for long enough, then it becomes cool. And whatever is kind of cool becomes uncool. You know, so maybe the uncool is now becoming just cool again. I mean, it's that way with fashion. It's that way, I guess, with a lot of things. I don't know. So maybe
Is that what's going to happen with us in the podcast? Because when we did it, there wasn't a lot, and then now it's everybody. So if we just hold out for another 2 to 4 years, it'll be cool again.
yeah, maybe.
It could be. I mean, I think there definitely is some truth to that for sure. Just like the fad cycles are so interesting, you know. Just the craving for nostalgia is a real thing.
And that's your entire
That's
thing.
it, man. Yeah, that's it.
You just gotta ride that wave.
I am riding the wave for sure, and like, yeah, it's a blast. It's fun.
Are you saying that Zach is the butt rock of t-shirts?
He's the.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant to say.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I love that, dude. This is my new direction. Like, forget the comics from here on out.
He's gonna be making some solid fucking Creed shirts when we get off of this. Well deserved.
I kind of love that idea, actually.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. What's for dinner?
Dinner. Okay. So, been married for a couple, like 6 months now, about 6 months. My diet, just from being like a DIY, like, you know, touring hardcore kid and like living out of my truck for like a year. I lived basically off of potato chips and deli meat. Didn't cook at all. So now I have to cook. I don't have to, but I do cook because it's like it's a great thing to do with my wife. She's definitely a little bit more pickier than me. So
you just said you were eating deli meat in your truck. So, I mean,
it was a low standard.
Right.
So with all that being said, we do a lot of salmon with rice and potatoes. And tonight, I think I'm doing burritos, turkey burritos, and basically do like a fancy crunch wrap, fry up some turkey meat, seasoning, soft shell, then the hard shell, melt cheese.
I was gonna say, do you put cheese in between the hard shell and the soft shell though?
Oh, Taco Bell style for sure.
Oh, fuck yeah. Okay,
and then, you know, slap some ranch on there and call it. So that's dinner tonight.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
Andy, what are you doing?
Something similar. Yeah, we're having tacos.
Oh,
yes.
Now I need tacos. It's Monday though. It's not Taco Tuesday. You gotta wait a day.
No, it just works out because I made some ground beef yesterday for what we had, and then I kept some of it, you know, aside for tonight for the tacos.
I thought you were going to say that you were going to put it on rice and I was going to slap you virtually.
Nope, not yet. Dylan, how about you?
I got invited to Brian's house tonight for my belated birthday dinner, which my birthday was in September.
Happy birthday.
Meatloaf and mashed potatoes.
Yeah, that's like 6 months belated birthday.
Yeah. I'm fine with it because I get meatloaf and mashed potatoes. So I'm cool with it. It's good. Zach, thank you very much for doing this with us. This was fun. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. I'm stoked on it. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on big time. Any chance I get to talk about screen printing and art and stuff like that, I'm just super thankful for it. Love what you guys are doing. It was just really cool to be.
You're not our normal screen printer. So where can people buy your stuff or go?
So basically just check out my Instagram. It's the easiest way. I announce like all my drops and stuff there. The link to my website to buy stuff is also there as well.
What's the Instagram?
So it's just my name, Zach, Z-A-C-H, Merrill, Merrill, with an underscore at the end.
Okay.
So if you want to see any of my work, see whatever is currently available, just head to my Instagram. It's the easiest way.
Sweet.
Sick. All right.
Well, have a good day, dude. We appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Later, man.